Time for another AI API design showdown, and in this video we're going to be putting Anthropic Claude up against Google Gemini Pro to see who can create the best OpenAPI documents.
Fight!
So let's get started with Anthropic. I'm here in the Anthropic API workbench and I've got Claude 3.5 Sonnet, the latest version as it is today, selected as the model, temperature set to 1, maximum number of tokens, which is what we're going to need because we're generating some pretty big documents here. The system prompt I've predefined. I'm going to use the same system prompt for both of these LLMs we're using today. And the prompt is the same one that we always use for this, which is to design an API for a service called Minilinks. It's a little bit more complex than a standard CRUD API. So let's see how Anthropic does with this first run. Okay, so it's finished. It looks like it did a pretty good job. It's explained what it wanted to do. At the end, it's given me all the endpoints that I would expect. It's added a security scheme like I would expect. It's added request response schemas like I would expect it to. Error responses are there, and it's used the JSON schema as requested in the prompt. So let's copy this and then we'll go over to VS Code and submit it to RateMyOpenAPI to get the initial score for Anthropic Sonnet. Okay, copied into VS Code. I've saved it as a file called anthropic.json, which I can now submit to RateMyOpenAPI using the CLI to get an initial score for this first attempt. So let's see how well it's done. All right. That's the initial score, 60, documentation 65, completeness 63, SDK generation 78, and security relatively low. So there's definitely some improvements that can be made there. So what we'll do is we will grab all of the feedback that we got from RateMyOpenAPI as a big block of JSON. We'll resubmit it and we'll see how well it can improve on this initial score. Now I can get that feedback from the RateMyOpenAPI API using any HTTP request tool. I'm going to do this in Postman. I've already pasted the value of the report ID in here. So if I click on send, I'm going to get all of the feedback as a big block of JSON. What we'll do is we'll copy the raw version of that and then we'll go back over to Anthropic and we'll add it into the conversation history and see how well it can update it. Over here in Anthropic Workbench, I've added the initial version into the conversation history. So now I can add a new prompt in at the bottom here that effectively says, use this JSON to update what it is you did before and see if it can do better than the score of 60. Okay, let's run it. The second run has been completed. It's taken on board the feedback and I can see from what it says here that it has made some pretty significant updates to it. So things look good for Anthropic Claude. Let's copy the JSON for the OpenAPI document, put it into VS Code and see what RateMyOpenAPI has to say about it this time. I've copied the JSON for the OpenAPI document over to a new file called Anthropic-revised. And now I'm going to submit that to RateMyOpenAPI using the CLI in the exact same way. We can see the previous results on the screen just here. Based on the feedback from RateMyOpenAPI, it's gone and created a new version now. Let's see how well it's taken that feedback on board and most importantly, how well it's been able to implement it. Wow, okay, that's quite some jump from what it was before. An overall score of 99, but it's taken all the feedback on board. It's implemented absolutely everything that RateMyOpenAPI had to say. Documentation's now at 100, can't do better than that. Completeness at 100, can't do better than that. SDK generation at 97. Okay, there's a couple of things there that maybe do still need to be done, but 97 still a pretty amazing score. And security's taken a huge jump from 47 up to 100. That's an absolutely massive score, and it definitely shows that it can take a huge amount of feedback in JSON format and really understand what it's supposed to do with it, implement it, and actually create a very solid OpenAPI document at the end of it. It knocks ChatGPT 4.0 off of the top spot for now, putting Anthropic Claude Sonnet 3.5 at the top. But let's see how Google Gemini Pro 1.5 can do with this same challenge. To work with Gemini 1.5 Pro, we're going to use Google Vertex AI Studio, which you can see here on the screen. I've got the model selected. I've got the region set to one that's near me, so hopefully this will happen a little bit quicker. Temperature is set to 1, same as we did with Anthropic Claude, and the token output is set to its absolute maximum, so we can ensure that we get a completed document at the end of this. So let's put our prompt in and get this started to see how well it does. Okay, it seems like it's finished. Let's grab all of this and put it into VS Code so we can submit to RateMyOpenAPI and see what kind of a score it gets. So the same as before, I've put it into VS Code into a file called Gemini.json. It's exactly as copied from the browser. And now I'm going to use the RateMyOpenAPI CLI to submit it and get that initial analysis to see what its first run looks like in terms of scores. Okay, so not so good this time, an overall of 46, definitely a whole bunch of things that can be improved on here. Documentation's very low, completeness is pretty low, security is pretty low. There's definitely some feedback here that can be taken on board, but how well is it going to accept this big block of JSON? How well is it going to understand what to do with that? And how well is it going to implement the feedback that is suggested? Back here in Vertex, I've already pre-pasted in the exact same prompt that I gave to Claude to keep things as fair as possible in this case. So I'll just paste in the feedback and then we will see what kind of an update we get from Gemini Pro. So the revision's complete. Gemini definitely took a lot longer than Claude did to create its revised version, but we're going to copy this now, head back over to VS Code and use the CLI to submit it to RateMyOpenAPI to see what score the revised version from Gemini Pro is going to get this time. Now we've copied it over, it's in a file called Gemini-revised.json. It's definitely longer, so there have been some additions and things have certainly changed. Let's submit it to RateMyOpenAPI and see if it can beat this initial score of 46 and how well it's taken on board the feedback that it got. So an overall score of 93, that's a huge upgrade from what it was initially, and everything is now in the green, so it's really taken on board the feedback that it got from RateMyOpenAPI. It's been able to parse that huge block of JSON, understand it properly, know what it needs to implement, and do it in a way that creates a really high quality revised OpenAPI document. But at 93, that is not the winning score for today. The winner is Anthropic Claude Sonnet 3.5. Make sure to get subscribed because we are going to be doing more of these videos over the coming weeks, and let's see if there is another LLM out there that can knock Anthropic Claude off the top spot.